Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon. Okay, so we are almost at the end of the year, at least the end of the Gregorian year, 2023, and we are now entering, one day or so, we're going to enter year 2024 on the Gregory's calendar. So with that, those of you who celebrate the year, as you know, we are saints in the nations, and I guess, we'll just look and see what happens. But I wish you all a very happy and a healthy new Gregory's year. And alongside that, I also wish you a blessed year coming up. Our calendar new year, by the way, is going to be in March, so we are still 3 months away from that. I did notice another mistake in the calendar, that the calendar starts January with Monday as the priestly Shabbat, and Monday is not the priestly Shabbat. The priestly Shabbat is still Sunday, but the priestly Shabbat will change in March 21st is when Monday will become the priestly Sabbath. So what we'll do, I think in order to keep it consistent and not to confuse people, what I'll probably do, the next calendar we make, I'll keep the Sabbath on the Saturday, with the Torah portion reading on the Saturday, but I'll just mark out on the calendar which day is the priestly Sabbath. So for instance, from March, because it will be Monday, then from March, I will mark just the priestly Sabbath day as Monday, and then we'll keep the readings for Saturday. That way, we'll mark the regular Sabbath on Saturday, whereas the priestly Sabbath will mark on Monday from March 2024, March 21st, 2024. Okay, so please mark that in your calendars. In the meantime, I want to give thanks to the Abba. Thank him for our goings out and our comings in, for our consistent blessings, for our health, for the food, for the clothing, and for the shelter. I want to give thanks that the Abba may be praised forever and ever. As you see on your screens, on your news, that the two major wars that presently are taking headlines is the war in Israel and between Hamas, and the war between Russia and Ukraine. Those two are still on. I gave you a little update on that privately, and that's still the case. Now, moving on to our Parsha and any other update. I think I did in my previous. I may not have said it in the previous lecture, maybe the one before that. But those of you who wanted to help that lady with the brothers and sisters, I'm still collecting on her behalf to pay for her fees, for her brothers and sisters' fees, which I told you in the previous lecture is around about $100, and for her groceries and stuff and bills, which I think is around $200. So about $300 are required in January to cover these items. So please, those of you who can and are able to, please do send that through, and just mark it assistance, and I will be able to then disperse that appropriately, because that's something that we have taken upon myself to help that family, and we'll continue with that as long as we're able to. And Baruch Hashem for that, and thank you for those of you who helped previously. Thank you. So, coming to the Torah portion, we are in Torah portion number 12, which is Genesis 47, VeYekhi. And if I open the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls, which is a Bible that we use for our reading, generally speaking. And let me go to the Torah portion. And it's verse 28. And verse 28 reads, And Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim 17 years. So the length of Yaakov's life was 147 years. Now I want you to pay attention. Why does the Torah mention us ages? Why doesn't it just say, oh, he lived a very long age? See, notice that. It never says that he lived a very long age, or he lived a fruitful life, or he lived ripe old age. Always it mentions a number. It says, so-and-so lived for 120 years, so-and-so lived for 137 years, and in this case, Yaakov lived for 147 years. So, what does that mean? It means that Scripture is telling you, Torah is telling you, that it is still possible today to live that age. It's not impossible. This is, by the way, as all of you know, this is after the flood. This story is after the flood. It is very possible to live to these ages even today. I was looking at some clip on the internet, and this one man, I think he was in Indonesia, one of these countries, and the man was 149 years of age, according to his birth certificate. Still alive. Of course, he was being helped by some family members. He was sitting on some kind of a bed, and they were helping him to stand up, and they were saying that this man is 149 years of age, and that they're going to try to, the government of that country was going to get his name put in the Guinness Book of Records for the longest living person, and the government's going to put him on some kind of a benefit stipend so that they can take care of him for the rest of his days. So it's very possible, as I keep telling you, it is extremely possible, easily possible for you to live beyond 100 plus. Very easy for you to do that. All you got to do is make some changes in your lifestyle or what you eat, and you can live long, long lives. Now, I want to tell you something that you might find rather interesting. And but before we do, let's just read this a little bit. Let's see. Here we also see in, let me go to one of these. Give me a moment. Yeah, in verse 24 of the same chapter, that is chapter 47, it says, And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field, and for your food, and for those of your households, and as food for your little ones. So, when Joseph acquired all the fields, when he was dishing out food to the Egyptians, he set a tax. And that tax, by the way, the Pharaoh was getting 20%. It says 1/5. So 1/5 to Pharaoh. So 80% was going to the farmers, and 20% was going to Pharaoh. Now notice in this picture, Pharaoh, or in this picture Joseph himself, because he is aligned to Pharaoh, it's almost like they're in the position of God. God on this earth. And they're collecting 20%, and the rest is given to the people to bless them and to let them get on with their lives. And it was made law in the land. It says Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt, Mitzrayim, to this day, that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. In other words, the lands that were given to the Levites, priests, they were not taxed, and the priests did not give the tax, but everybody else gave tax to the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh in turn gave some kind of a benefit, some kind of a stipend to the priests, so they could operate and continue to function as priests for the tribes of Israel. And they had the choicest lands in Goshen, which was one of the regions in Egypt, and it says that they grew and multiplied there exceedingly. So now here Jacob is at 147, is coming to the end of his age, And it says, when the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "Now if I found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh." By the way, under my thigh means you put it under, this was a custom in the ancient East, Near East. Under the thigh doesn't mean under the thigh, it means under the groin. You put it under the groin because that's the area of fertility. It says, "Deal kindly and truly with me. Please do not bury me in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. But let me lie with my fathers. You shall carry me out of Mitzrayim and bury me in their burial place." And he said, "I will do as you have said." Then he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. So Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. So this is Jacob, by the way, is doing a Near East custom, which is a Torah custom. And he is doing this in order to tell his son that he wants to be taken away from that place to be buried in the land of Israel. It's kind of interesting, in the land of Israel. I'm going to tell you something, I want to draw an analogy over here. And it says that it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, "Indeed, your father is sick." And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Yaakov was told, "Look, your son Joseph is coming to you." And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. And then it says, Yaakov said to Joseph, "El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a congregation of people." La kahal amim in the Hebrew, meaning a congregation of people, an everlasting people, not a temporal people, okay? "And will give this land to your seed after you as an everlasting possession. And to your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born into you in the land of Mitzrayim, into the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Mitzrayim are mine, as Reuben and Shimon, they shall be mine. Your offspring whom you beget after them shall be yours, and will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance." Okay? Means that they will carry the 12 tribal names. "And as for me, when I came from Padan Aram, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan." That's his wife that died in the way when there was but a little distance to go to Egypt. Means that the mother of Benjamin. "And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath," that is Bethlehem, and of course the mother of Joseph as well. And then Israel saw Joseph's sons and said, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, they are my sons." So here what he does, he puts the right hand on it says Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him, because he was trying to place each in the right order. But Israel, meaning Jacob, stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, opposite, which was the younger, and his left hand on the older. Whereas, Joseph thought this was wrong and he tried to correct him, but he says, no, this is meant to be. You see, what Christian pastors who teach, when they read this, they say, "Oh, this is the picture of a cross, the cross of Jesus." However, this is no such thing over here. There's no crosses here. This is not the case. Sure, they can make an analogy of it, but that's not the case over here. It's not talking about any crosses that were used later used in Babylonian and Chaldean and other worships of man-made gods, put it this way. So understanding that there's the allegorical meanings here, and there's the also the literal meanings. So here he's saying that the Ephraimite, they'll become powerful nations. Left hand on Manasseh is for Chokhmah, means wisdom, Chesed, mercy, and Netzach, victory. So the two sons. Whereas he led the 10 tribes are mentioned by the Ephraimites, and the right hand upon that would be Bina, understanding, Gevurah, strength, and Hod for awe. And these were the qualities of the nations that were to be dispersed in, of course, latter times due to, the disobedience of the children of Israel. And Jacob here goes so far as to say, he says to his son something very interesting. He says, and he spoke a blessing for Joseph and said, Elohim, before whom my Ahvot, my fathers, Abraham and Yitzhak, walked, the Elohim who has fed me all my life to this day. But the Malach, he says, the Malach, the angel, who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, let my name be named upon them, and the name of my Ahvot, fathers, Abraham and Yitzhak, Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Now when Joseph saw this, his father laid his right hand on the head of him. It displeased him, and he took hold of a father's hand to remove it. And then he says, not so, my father, not so. He goes, this is not the Bechor. And but father refused and said, no, I know, my son, I know. He shall also become a people, but he shall also be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. Melo Hagoim means multitude of nations. So he blessed them both. So this is how he incorporated the two sons of Joseph. But the interesting part that I see over here, if I go back to the Parsha, it says, Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim 17 years. 1-7. Okay? 1-7, if you add the two up, is 8. 8 is a number for prosperity, abundance, and, generally speaking, wealth. It says Yaakov's life was 147. Notice 147. That's 7 4 is 11 plus 1 is 12. If you add the 3 up numbers, it comes to 12. Interestingly, that number 12 is a number of the tribes that Israel ended up with. And it also says that, it talks about, here interestingly, here let me show you something of interest here. Let's see, let's go back, because we have the people giving taxes to Pharaoh, and of course Joseph in this case. But we also have this placing of the hands that Jacob does in this particular Torah portion, and let's see what do we drive out of it. Yeah, I was talking about the fact that he had him make an oath by placing his hand under the groin to make an oath, which was the custom in the Near East. The ancient Torah custom was to do that, because he says, swear this oath to me that you will take me out of this land. And let me just give me a moment. Let me just tell you the meaning on that. So why would in this particular instance he says here that let me lie with my fathers, Ahvot, you shall carry me out of Mitzrayim. He says when the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph, said to him, if I found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh. Of course, as I explained what that means, and deal kindly and truly with me. Please do not bury me in Mitzrayim. Okay, so, but let me lie with my fathers, Ahvot. You shall carry me out of Mitzrayim and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I will do as you have said. Then he said, swear to me. And he swore to him, so Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. Okay, what does that mean? What's happening over here? Let me give you a little mystical understanding of this. First of all, remember Egypt. Egypt is still south of Israel, okay, south of Jerusalem. So remember what I told you, that the south means is the area of the interest for material wealth like properties, land, cattle, elephants, I say elephants, I mean elephants as well, but I mean camels, sheep, cattle, cows, etc., goats and whatnot. That's the kind of area of the south. Now, on our bodies, what is the area of the south? Well, it is the portion that is below the chest. Okay, our portion below the chest or below the stomach would be considered the area south. Now look where he's placing the hand under the groin. What is that area? Technically, that would be Egypt, right? If we use the anatomy of a human body, that's the area of Egypt. Okay, that's where he's placing his hand. Now he says, "Don't let me be buried over here, but bury me with my fathers." And where's the fathers? Remember, Abraham's grave, or the place of where they buried him, is in Shechem, right? Shechem is kind of like considered shoulder in the Hebrew language, but it's also the upper region of the body. Now, remember, Jerusalem is considered north, right? North of what? North of Egypt. Okay, Jerusalem is considered north in that sense. So if Jerusalem is considered north of Egypt, technically, because Egypt is south, now what area of the body would that be? That would be the head. So where did Jacob wanted to be buried? Jacob wanted to be buried in the skull. Where is the skull? In the north of the body. Because remember, as I explained to you, we have the south. The south is the lower portion of the body, below the stomach. But above the upper portion, above the chest, is the head. That would be technically Jerusalem, north, where God's throne resides. Remember, God's throne is in the north. So where did God's glory came? It came into the temple. So if God's glory comes into the temple, where would we connect to God? And let's come back to the nuts and bolts of this. Where do we arrive with the law of assumption? According to the Torah even, it's in the north. Why? Because what does Jacob say? I want to be buried where the forefathers are. Well, where are his forefathers? They're in the north. Where is the north? It's in the head. Where in the head exactly? In your skull. So Christians, of course, they take the skull and they derive different meanings from it. They derive the meaning that Jesus was buried in a cave, and that cave was a skull, and it was looks like a skull and all that. I'm not going into that. I'm telling you that your skull is where God's presence is, where your forefathers are. Really? Yeah, think about it. Where are your forefathers? Where is the connection to your forefathers? The connection to your ancestors, the connection to your God even, the connection that you make with VeYekhi is where exactly? It's in your skull. So where should you be focusing your emphasis? This is why I keep telling you that in order to activate the law of manifesting, in order to activate and derive from it the benefits and the blessings that you are due, all of you are deserved, comes from your skull. How do we reach our skull? Well, according to this particular chapter, this particular passage in the Torah, what we are told is that Jacob took an oath, and he said to Joseph, "You must not leave me in the south. You must put me in the north, because that is where the activation is." He said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. So Israel, then it says, bowed himself on the head of the bed. Where was Israel facing? Israel in this meaning Jacob. Where was Jacob facing when he bowed himself on the head of the bed? Guess where? Towards the temple. Where is the temple? Jerusalem. Where is Jerusalem in proposition to Egypt? It's in the north. So, do you see now how that all fits? It all fits. It all fits like this. This is why I say to you that who do you appeal to when you're actually doing your affirmations, when you're doing your visualization, your imagination? Who are you appealing to? You're appealing to two types of spiritual entities. Number one, you're appealing to your ancestors. Where are the ancestors buried? They're buried in the head, in the skull. Okay? And number two, The connection is to God Himself directly through your skull. Because through our brains, we have the conscious and the subconscious. We have the super and the anterior and the superior portions of the brain. But what do we have? We have the portion that makes connection to God. That is not the conscious portion, is the unconscious portion, which is also known as the subconscious. That makes a connection to God. So whatever you ask for, where do you appeal? You appeal to God. And where is God? God is in your skull. And where is the skull? Skull is where your soul is. And where is the soul? Soul is with the ancestors. Where are the ancestors? So you're directly appealing to God through that method. And I've given you many times. I've given you how to use and how to activate that portion of your body in order to acquire the blessings that you deserve, that are due to you. Now, remember, this is all I want to give you a little precaution, because I think some of you may fall into that, is that whatever you're thinking, whatever you're thinking negative, if you're thinking negative things in your life, like for instance, people sometimes unduly worry about diseases, about relationships, about maybe finances. So if you unduly worry, now this is what I call the mirror technique. What is the mirror technique? The mirror technique is whatever you worry about inside your body. Okay? When you worry, it either affects your heart or affects your brain. And then indirectly, it affects every organ of your body. So when you do that, you indirectly worry about, how am I going to pay the bill? What's going to happen to my health? What about my life? Or what about my relationship? When you're doing all of those things, they directly impact your quality of life and your manifesting life, because what happens, they don't appear immediately. When you continue to worry, when you continue to think negatively, the mirror technique, basically what happens is what you're internally, it comes out externally. It will take between 4 to 6 weeks to show externally. In other words, if you continue to worry over something, whatever that something is, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's relationship, it will materialize in your world in 4 to 6 weeks. So what should you do? You should do the reverse, shouldn't you? If you're worrying, stop worrying and start thinking positive. Start thinking good things in your head. Start, seeing if money is what you want, start looking at money coming to you. When you close your eyes and you sit there and you see that, if dollar is your currency or pounds or euros, you see that currency coming towards you, floating towards you, hitting your body, and it's, touching you, and it's all over you. And then you continue to think like that. That's why I made the EFT tapping recordings for you. When you run the recordings, that's what you're doing, that's what you're seeing. You're activating your reticular activating system in your brain, the centers which are connecting to who? Connecting to your ancestors, connecting to God, connecting to the temple in Israel, Jerusalem, and the whole shebang in one. And when you do that, what's the end result? End result is to bless you, right? But you must continue to do that. Remember what I said, when your mirror technique is you do it internally. You do it every day. And when you do it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then guess what? You get the result in 4 to 6 weeks. So within space of 3 months, 6 to 6 is 12 weeks, 6 weeks and 6 weeks. So when you do something for 6 weeks, and then the result appears in another 4 to 6 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks means almost 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months. And what happens, you see the result. So if you're thing that you're seeing, if you're seeing money, if you're seeing prosperity, if you're seeing great health, if you're seeing great relationship, all those things start to materialize in that time period. So what should you be doing? What I taught you already. You do your EFT tapping, and you already have the recordings. If you don't have the recording, write to me and I can send it to you. The other thing you do is you do your affirmations that you've written for yourself, and you repeat them every day. As I told you, robotically, you repeat them. And you repeat them to yourself, a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes a time. 3 slots in 20 minutes is 1 hour. So take an hour out of the day and spend it on yourself. How's about that? Give yourself some me time. When you give yourself some me time, then you're going to get tremendous rewards and blessings coming through that. If you're looking for a job, those of you who wanting to get a new job, not a problem. When you close your eyes and you imagine, you don't see you going to the, looking at newspapers finding a job. No, you already see yourself employed. This is called the feeling. What is the feeling? The feeling. Remember what Jesus also said. Yeshua said what? He said, whatever so you believe. Just believe that you received it already. So how do you believe that you received it? By having your wish, having your desire fulfilled. How do you have your desire fulfilled? Well, you're not going to look at middle part, like, oh, I'm going to the newspaper or internet, I'm looking for jobs. No, you're going to be at the end part. You're already working. You're already employed. And your manager, maybe you're speaking to your manager, maybe you're telling a friend, because if you're bad, if you have difficulty doing imagination, visualization, some people do. Some people have difficulty with that. They don't know, they can't hold a focus. Then what they can do the telephone technique, where they close their eyes and they're talking on the phone to a friend, a trusted friend, and they're telling their friend how happy they are in their new job and how happy they are with their salary that they wanted. So you're doing this over and over and over of the telephone technique. If you are having a hard time visualizing, that's another way to get through it. You are hearing the voice of your friend in your ear, and you're doing that. If it's for a sum of money, same telephone technique. If you are talking about, getting, but if you're good at visualization, if you are happy to do that, then you do it in the visualization where you're seeing your manager who's handing you some kind of a bonus check, 6 months, 8 months after you've already been employed. He's giving you maybe a Christmas bonus check, 2024. He's saying to you that here's your bonus check. Thank you. We're very happy to have you working for us. And you just repeat that. You just loop it. Whatever you so believe, whatever you believe it with intent and believe it with real belief. In other words, that is feeling doesn't mean emotionally. Doesn't mean having shed tears. Emotional does not mean you have to shed tears. Emotional means that you believe the thing is already done. If you are after a job, the job is already yours. You're already working the job for the last 8 months, 10 months. And you have got great relations with your manager. If it's money, then it's already in the bank. Whatever that sum of money is, it's already in the bank. You look at your bank app, you open up your bank app, and you see the balance there. And the balance increases for you. Every time you refresh, you see the balance increasing. Maybe you want $3 million, afterwards you see it's $3.5 million, $3.10 million, $3.15 million. So remember, I also gave you the $3 million exercise that you do it every day. You go shopping, you go spend some money on shopping. You spend maybe you buy yourself a new phone, you get yourself some new clothes, you get yourself perhaps a new laptop, a new car, a new house. But then you spend the rest of the money, and you do that every night when you go to bed. Every night when you go to bed, you do that. And whilst you're doing that, in that moment where you're spending the money, you're happy to spend the money, the $3 million that's already in your account, and then you fall asleep while you're doing that. And that will penetrate deep into your head, and it will put a footprint in your head that's what's going to happen in your life next. Yeah, it's going to go deep into your subconscious, and it's going to be imprinted. And remember what I told you last time on one of my few lectures. Your subconscious, your mind is a printer. It will print whatever you give it. It don't care. It don't care about your color. It don't care about your feelings. It don't care about the weather. It doesn't care what country you live in. It doesn't care who you are as a person. It doesn't care about your age. Whatever you tell it, whatever you ask for it, it will print it in your environment. If I gave you an example of last week. Remember I told you that I was going and I said to myself, today I'm going to see red cars. And I saw the red car because I wanted evidence of, is it going to work for me? And so my mind gave me the evidence of red cars. I saw a red car parked, and seeing a red car where I am is almost next to impossible. There's not many red cars here. in the whole of the country. So it could be similar to you. I told you to test it out. How you test it out? You might go out and say, today I'm only going to see blue cars, or today I'm going to see a pink car. And if you do that, then your mind will give you evidence, because your mind, your subconscious, the two parts of your brain, the lower and the upper, the conscious and the unconscious part of your brain is a printer, and it will print for you what you ask for it. So when you send information to the printer and you say that I have $10 million in my account, if you say I have $10 million in my account already, then what do you believe in? What's the feeling? Not emotion, not crying, not tears, not shouting. No, the only emotion you need is the money is already in your account. You just close your eyes and look. You open your, in your closed eyes, you open your banking app, and you're looking at your banking app and you see the $10 million balance. And you continue to repeat that. That's it. How hard is that? That man who sat at the pool, how many years was he? Remember the story I gave you on Jesus and the man at the pool who was waiting for Jesus, to come along, and he was waiting to heal him. The story of man at the pool, it's a very famous story in the New Testament, and it talks about a man who was waiting for the water to be stirred up. I believe in a man that was healed at the pool of Bethesda in John chapter 5, and it says that the man was paralyzed. And it says that the man just waited over there, because he was like, I want to get into the pool, but before the angel comes, somebody else jumps into the pool. Somebody else, 38 years, he was disabled for 38 years, and yet he only wanted one thing, to be healed. And when Yeshua, Jesus, comes to him and he sees him lying there, and he says, he basically says to him, what do you want? He says, do you want to be made well? And the sick man answers, Rabbi, I have no man to put me into the pool. When the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, another steps down. In other words, he waited 38 years when he could have just crawled over there, and he just put himself in the pool, but he didn't. He just kept waiting, until Jesus turns up and says, rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. What does that teach you? It teaches you procrastination is your biggest enemy. Negative thinking is your biggest enemy. It teaches you that you can't be waiting on somebody to come and put you into the pool when you could crawl with your tongue and you could put yourself in the pool. In other words, this is really an analogy. It's an analogy for you want to manifest $1 million, $10 million, $20 million, $100 million, $500 million. You don't just sit there and just hope, I'm going to get it. No, you just continue to believe it. You continue to believe that you have $500 million in your account. And God will make a way for it to... Remember what I told you. What's the connection to God? Your subconscious. What's the subconscious going to do? It's a printer. What's it going to do? It's going to print whatever you ask for it. But you got to continue to ask it. You can't just ask it one time. The widow that went to the king. The king, the story in the New Testament, the widow goes to the king and keeps saying to the king. And the king gets fed up with her. And what's the story of the widow? Widow and the king story is very simple. She keeps bothering the king. And eventually the king gets fed up. The king gets fed up and he says, who is this woman? And he asks his superiors, he says, who is this woman and why does she keep coming back? Because she kept coming back, going to the judge. It's called the persistent widow. And the story is in Luke chapter 18. And, here this particular widow, it goes to this man or to this judge being the king. And even though the judge is unjust, it's not the righteous judge, it's an unjust judge. And it says that, what is the story given? It says, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in the town who kept coming to him with the plea, grant me justice against my adversary. And for some time he refused. Basically, he refused her all the time. Finally, he said to himself, even though I don't fear God and I care about what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, keeps persisting, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come and attack me. Listen, who is this judge? Who is this judge who doesn't care about the people? This is an analogy. This is a symbolism of who? This is your subconscious. This is your mind. This is your unconscious mind. It doesn't care. It's not that it doesn't, in this particular environment, in my analogy, it's not like it doesn't regard God. That is what makes connection to God. Whatever you feed it, it will print it. If you ask it that I want $10 million, if you ask it I want $500 million, its job is to print it. Doesn't matter how it's going to do it. We don't know if it's going to do it through a lottery. We don't know if it's going to let you find biggest gold hidden away in the land or diamonds or something. We don't know how. We don't know if it's going to give you a big business. We're not sure how it does it, but it does it. It makes the connection to God. It finds the most reliable and the most quickest way to do it. But what's the secret? Come on, what's the secret? The secret is persistence. You got to persist. You can't just do it for 3 weeks and then say, oh, I'm tired, it's not working. 2 months, oh, I'm tired, it's not working. No, you got to persist. And if you persist, it will give you what you want. So persist in your affirmation. Persist in your scripting. Persist in your desire. Do not give up. Okay? If you don't give up, you will get what you desire. You will get it. Rest assured. It will come. Your unconscious mind will make the connection to God and will give you what you want. That's where your ancestors are. Your skull. It's all in your skull. Come on, how more easier could it be? The Torah made it so clear, yet we, are so ignorant that we didn't see it. We just kept thinking, I have to go to some temple in Jerusalem and find it there and blah, blah, blah. Yet it wasn't the case. It wasn't, the secret wasn't some temple in Jerusalem. The secret was your own temple. Where is your own temple? Where it makes the connection to God? Your unconscious mind. Come on, that's where it is. So with that, I want you to think about it. I want you to, now again, analyze what I just said. Analyze, think, why does the Torah makes these stories? What is the Torah trying to teach us? The Torah is teaching us the blessing is in your own hands. You have the ability to bless yourself. But are you willing to do it? Are you willing to persist like that widow? Are you willing to continue to appeal? Are you willing to continue to appeal? Or are you going to just, do it for one day and then say, it's not happening. It's not working. And then you just give up. That's my point. Don't give up. Continue to do the work. If you continue to do the work, if you continue to persist, you will not only get the job that you desire, you'll get the family that you want, you'll get everything that you desire. Everything will be given to you. But please understand that you have to do some work. It requires some little bit effort from you as well. Only a little effort. That's why I keep asking you, how much is your life worth? Is your life worth that you can give yourself an hour a day? Is your life worth enough to have an hour a day for yourself? If it is, then continue with it. You will be tremendously blessed. God will bless you. Since you've chosen to follow the path of the Torah will become a blessing unto you. And you'll be tremendously blessed. Sure, we make mistakes. We sometimes we do things wrong and we do avera. And because we do the avera, we give the zadaqah, we give the offering to God and to forgive us. And God is able to forgive us for anything that we do wrong. And we continue with our benefit and blessing. With that, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to rest assured that whatever righteous deeds that you do, whatever righteous things that you ask for, God is able to give it to you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sabbath. Have a wonderful week ahead, and have a wonderful new year ahead as well, as you go along the way to 2024, to a year of prosperity, abundance, fruitfulness,
great family life. Baruch Hashem. May the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be praised forever and ever. Amen. Amen.